Humans, it is I, Mr. Bell, with part 2 of our first drawing activity we did for this new unit, Illusions. This is the visual illusions part of this unit. Remember, we're going to be moving on, thinking about the illusions around us, the lies around us that we believe. But for this, what we're going to be doing is just adding shadows to this, and thinking about where those shadows would lie within this hole. Remember, you're standing here looking straight out here, and there's this big old jagged hole in front of you that you're kind of looking down into a little bit. So you know that at the top there would be some light. Let's say our light is coming from over here, kind of shining down directly into this, but coming at a little bit of an angle so you won't see on that forever. So the farther down this hole you get, the darker those shadows are going to become, and kind of the farther they're going to stretch out. So again, I'm going to put my light source right up here in the corner. You can do the same. So I know that light will be shining down here. So once we get into this zone-ish, we will start to see really deep shadows. And towards the bottom here of this illusion, this is where those shadows would be the darkest. But you got to remember that just because this wall appears to be longer, it doesn't really mean it is any longer than like these ones down here. So like up here, there probably wouldn't really be any shadow in this shape because it's just the very top of that wall. But say around here, then that all of a sudden that shadow will start to come. Again, I'm going to be using a regular old pencil, and I'm going to be using color pencils for this. If you only have a pencil, use it. But if you have color pencils, I would really push you to use those. For them, really, you're just going to need 2 colors and try to make them seem very different. So I'm using pink and gold here, so they'll really kind of pop off of each other for this part. So for the shadow part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my pencil like this so I can use the edge of my graphite, and I'm going to have it be pretty sharp. And then gently, I'm going to shadow this wall first, this guy right up in here. And I'm going to kind of decide where that shadow is for it. So I'm going to start right around there, and I'm going to just put some graphite down to about there-ish. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smear it upwards a little bit to make that shadow fade. But as I get towards the top, no more shadow. So now I'm going to use, this is kind of a gauge. This is about where that shadow really peters out, and this is about where I stopped shading to kind of push it upwards there. So I'm going to use that measurement from like here to here. That means there's no shadow from like here to here. But this right here, this is where that shadow would just be visible just a little bit. Right around in there. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So if I know that this shadow ends right here and I stop shading right around there, same thing for this wall. So I'm going to come down about that far. And this is probably where I want that shadow to end. And this is where I'm going to actually stop shading right around there. Not an exact science, but you want to get it kind of as close as you can. So I'm going to apply some more graphite there. Use my little finger. Smudge it upwards a little bit. Bam. And now that I have this gauge, I can do this kind of over and over pretty easily. Just kind of recognizing that this shadow ends there. So this one would end right around there. And then I would stop shading there. So I'm going to throw some graphite on this guy. Get kind of an even color. Don't want to scribble as much as I can, but it's okay to scribble a little. Taking my finger, giving it a smudge downward, and then I'm going to smudge it upwards, trying to stay within that same shape. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. Probably ends right around there. That's where I should stop shadows. So as you do this, notice that that shadow stops coming up, or stops kind of at different spots on these walls. And that's really going to add to this illusion as we go through. I'm going to do one more drop shadow with pencil, and then I'm going to move on to my color pencils. So this wall, probably around there, would be where the shadow stops. So that's where I probably want to stop shading. Put that graphite down there. Really like so. Give me a good smear. Push her upward like that. Bam. Then now, if you only have a pencil, continue doing this technique for the rest of this exercise. But I want to do half of it with these colored pencils. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose that same spot where that shadow is, only I'm going to have it be represented with my pink colored pencil. And then I'm going to have the top part be represented with this gold colored pencil. So I'm going to throw down that same thing. I want to have it come down. That shadow will probably come down to right around there. And then this is where I really want to start fading these into each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my colors and I'm going to be really pragmatic. That means plan ahead with how I'm pulling this pencil. I want this to all go in the same direction. And I know that right around here where that shadow starts, that's where I want to start mixing it. So I'm going to bring that down, but then I'm going to switch to my other color. I'm going to go from the bottom. I'm going to do that same thing. And I want to fade them into each other. Kind of like so, and then I want it to kind of end at that same place where that shadow begins. Again, just using pink to represent where that shadow would be. I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to start here. So this wall, again, this one's way in front of this one. So this shadow would be probably around there is where it ends. And that's where I really, this zone in between these, that's where I really need to kind of fade them. This one will go all the way over there too. This would be pretty well lit because this is right at the very top of that hole. Notice that I'm keeping the pencil going in the same direction every time I pull it. It's right around there. And then I'm going to overlap these colors and blend these colors together like so. Do the same thing here. Probably ends right around there. Probably fade it right in between that part. Go all the way over here. Right around there. And that pink starts right there. Bam. Bring this shadow up to right around there. This one probably end at the same point. Like a so. So remember, the big point of this unit, the big summative grade part of this is going to be not a visual illusion. It is going to be about lies. Like, for example, social media and how it has a tendency to warp your opinions and has a tendency to kind of, you know, make yourself feel bad about yourself because of those lies that it tells you. Remember that Instagram, TikTok, really any of those social media platforms, they want you to scroll. They want you to keep looking at it. So they tend to only show you things that you like and things that you believe in, and it doesn't show you other people's opinions, and it doesn't show things that you don't like. So it can kind of trick you. It can create the illusion that it is reality, that people on social media are representing reality, but they are not. It is very much an illusion. I'm really quickly going to just darken in these lines so you can see them, especially on this pencil side where I smudged a bunch of the lines. This guy real quick. So be thinking about a lie that's around you, kind of something that maybe you know. Like, I'm sure me talking about social media like that doesn't come as a shock to you. But be thinking about something that you know is probably not true, but you kind of feel like in your gut, you really do feel that is reality. Because that's what we're going to be using for that summative project. Okay, so I think that would be pretty good. Again, if you have colored pencils, I'd really push you to try doing this blending. If you don't have a colored pencil, you can just use your regular pencil and kind of smudge it upward, trying to represent where those shadows are. So there you go. This is activity 2.